Okay, this starts the second part of Module 5B, and we're given a formula, which a formula is just simply an equation, but typically has meaning for an application. And it says first substitute the given values. So I have A is going to be 88, B is going to be 10, and little b is going to be 1. And then it says solve for the unknown variable, which will be 8. So if I write this out a little bit better, 88 equals 1/2 h, and then 10 plus 1. So I have 88 equals 1/2 h, 11. Now if you notice, I can write it one more time. All of these are being multiplied, so you can change the order. I can actually write that as 11/2 times h. And now to solve this, if I flipped the fraction, that would cancel it, right? 11/2 times 2/11 would give me 1. And so I do the same thing over here. And so nicely, 11 goes into 88 8 times. So that would be 8 times 2, which is 16, equals h. All right, this next one here, let me just pick it up and move it over there. It says solve the formula for the specified variable. So it says to solve for k. So I have d equals 1/5 f times k. So probably the first thing I would do is multiply both sides by 5/1, because that would get rid of the 1/5. So I have 5/1, or 5d equals, that all cancels, fk, and I'm solving for k. So in this case, I would just divide both sides by f. And that would be it. Oops, I wrote the d first. F equals k. All right, so when we get into applications, we want to translate what we're trying to solve into an equation so we can solve it. So it says what number? I think that would just be x. I don't know what that number is. Is an equal sign in math. 58%, you always want to change your percentages to decimals. 58%, move the decimal 2 places to the left and drop the decimal sign. Of means to multiply of 56. So if I just simply pick up a calculator and I multiply those two values, I get 32.48. Now let's say I'm asked for 15% of what number is 105. Again, use the math words, so change the percentage to a decimal. 15% of is multiplication. What number is the variable I'm looking for? Is equal 105. So I think if I divided 0.15 on both sides, I would be able to solve this quickly. Pick up my calculator and I get x equals 700. Continuing on with these, what percent of 80 is 84? Well, I can see that I want to divide both sides by 80. Now, when I do this, so my x percent, when I plug that in my calculator, I get 1.05, but I need to turn this into a percent, so I move the decimal 2 places to the right, and I would get my 105%. All right, so where we're going with all of these is now in an application. So it says a woman earns $3,000 per month and budgets $510 per month for food. What percent of her monthly income, okay, so of her monthly income, I'm going to write it like that, is spent on food? So once you get this set up, now you can just see divide both sides by 3,000. And just like the last one, I want to put this in percent. So I get 0.17, which would be 17%. Now we're going out to eat. It says a birthday celebration meal is $47.20, including tax, but not the tip. Find the total costs if we're going to add 15% tip. So definitely something we can all relate to. So my total is $47.20 plus I'm going to take 15%. I'll just put this in parentheses of that $47.20. Okay, so you're saying that, well, first of all, what is 15%? And if I pick up my calculator, I get 708. So 47.20 plus 7.08, and you add those together and you get the total bill, 54.28. Now, something that, you know, is actually kind of funny that I showed somebody once, that when they were always like, well, how do I know? I think most of you guys are like really good where you tip, you know, 10% is easy to find, right? Because that would be 4.72, and then you do another 10% and you just multiply it by 2. You know, kind of the same thing is happening here. If you look at the 10%, okay, which is $4.72, and then you take half of that, okay, which is $2.36. Guess what you get when you add those two values? You get this. And so a lot of times people will do this in their head. 10%, I can get that in my head right away, 4.72. And then another 5%, well, would be 4.72 divided by 2, which is 2.36. Add those two together, and that's that value right there. So it's just kind of something to be able to do on the fly like that, you know, instead of always having to pick your phone up, you know, in a restaurant when you work problems like these in the real world.